All right, so we're back. I switched views there. My hand was getting kind of tired. The only thing I have right now to record with is a microphone and a cell phone, so I'm kind of going to do it this way. You can see the microphone right there. Boom. So yeah, like I'm going to go ahead and try to do this. It's going to be, like, I got to change this. This is way too difficult. How's that? Hopefully that'll work. Hopefully this microphone here doesn't bother you guys too much. But I remember next I went to go check my work schedule to see what I was working the following week, and I went back to check the work schedule, and my mom had been like, hey, you should check out this new chick or whatever. She's pretty cool. She just started. You should check her out and introduce yourself to her. She's really pretty. So I was like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. I'll check her out. So I did, and I went back there, and I remember the first thought that flashed in my head when I saw her. I was like, that was like God was like, boom, like this is the girl you're gonna marry. And I was like, I remember mocking it. Like I remember scoffing at it and laughing at myself. Like I was just like, yeah, right, I'm never marrying. Like I'm never getting married. Like nobody would ever marry me. So, you know, I remember the first word she ever said to me. Like I looked at her and I was like, oh, hey, cool, what's going on? She was like, hey, nice hat, because I was like wearing this checkerboarded golf plaid hat and punk clothes and all this other stuff. She said, nice hat, like real sarcastically, and I was like, nice hat yourself or whatever. So, you know, as I got to know her, I mean, I kind of asked her, I was like, hey, what do you do? You know, like, do you drink? Do you party? Like, what do you do? And she's like, oh, I don't do any of that stuff, you know. I don't drink, I don't party, I don't smoke, I don't do anything. And I was like, oh okay, you know, like, with all the stuff that I lived for, basically, and like, she didn't do any of it. So I was like, oh, this is different from me. So at the time, I hung out with a different crowd, you know. I hung out with a gay guy named Jason, a goth kid named Josh, a girl named Stephanie, like all people who I'd gone to high school with, and, you know, a group of my old friends plus my bandmates. Like that was my main hangout group or whatever. We all drank and smoked, and, you know, we went to Denny's, played cards and stuff all the time, you know, talked music, and we were all either in bands or knew people who were, and, you know, we all just took turns hanging out at each other's houses and partying and stuff. So I remember I went with Stephanie one time to a particular band practice that I wasn't part of. They were all really, really good, and they let me jam with them and sing and everything else. And, you know, they had a really weird drummer, but there was, you know, Keith and Jenner and Priester and, you know, all just really awesome people, you know. But it was a party. There was always like, drunk people and half-naked people running around everywhere and smoking pot, and everybody was just having a good time or whatever. And we ended up staying out there that night because somebody's car broke down or whatever. We couldn't get back, and I was almost late for work the next day. But I mean, that was pretty typical for me at that point in my life. You know, it's a pretty typical day off, is just hanging out with band people and doing band stuff or whatever. So my band was playing shows pretty much every other week or so at this point. And Hannah, the girl that was at the, you know, restaurant that I had met, we started dating, and she had really no idea what I did when I was on my own. Yeah, I still partied, still smoked pot and everything else, and, you know, I drank with the best of them. You know, it's what all my friends did, so it's what I did. And about 2 weeks into us going out, I was supposed to hang out with Hannah at the mall with one of our mutual friends that worked at the restaurant with us. And I went to Denny's the night before we were supposed to hang out with a bunch of my friends, and for some reason I'll never understand, I went to this party afterwards, and you know, I got drunk and I cheated on her, and one of the, again, scumbag move. So I didn't end up hanging out with her the next day. I bailed on her, but I had to, you know, see her at work the next couple days from that point. She discovered what happened or whatever, and she was furious at me, and you know, mind you, we weren't even to the point where we were kissing yet, like, but I mean, I had betrayed her trust. I mean, that's the meat and bones of it, is, you know, I had broken you know, what we had. So it took the better part of a couple days, but I apologized to her, and you know, we ended up working it out, but she basically said, look, if you want to be with me, you're going to be with me. If you want to go do all this partying and stuff, then just drop me and go do all that, because I don't want any part of that. So if that's what you want to do, then you go do that, but that's not what my life's about. So I just quit partying. Like, I just dropped it. Like, I stopped doing it. So, you know, I still smoked and I still drank, but I no longer went to big parties or lived that way. So, you know, it was fall when Hannah and I started dating. I mean, we got serious pretty quick. You know, I still looked the part of the rock star with pink mohawk and piercings and tattoos and everything. And, you know, my bandmates pretty much became my closest and only friends. I remember introducing Caleb to Hannah, and he was really impressed with her. It was about that time that, you know, Caleb's and my friendship really started coming back into focus again. And Hannah and I started getting closer, and it was around Christmas time, and I remember she said, basically, you know, she was going to go to the thing at her church or whatever, and so I was like, hey, you want me to go with you or whatever? And mind you, I hadn't stepped into a church until I was like, you know, 15. So I asked her if she wanted me to go with her, and she said, no way. And I was like, well, why not? And she's like, well, have you looked at yourself? You know, like, I hadn't even met her parents or anything at this point. So, you know, she was just like, no, you can't go with me. And then she just left, you know. So I went home and I kind of rethought myself, and, you know, I wasn't exactly a model citizen. So I went out and bought some new clothes, you know, not like preppy or anything, but like I just went and, you know, kind of changed my image a little bit. And, you know, I kind of walked the line between take home to mom and punk. So like, I don't know what that looks like, but that's what I did. So that's when I pretty much got to meet her family, and her older sister had moved out, and she had 2 younger brothers at home, and her dad and mom loved me for some reason. Like, I don't even understand why. But they were awesome. They just loved me, and they ate me up, and they were like, hey, you know, you should come around more often and all this other stuff. And I remember one time that Hannah and I were, you know, hanging out with each other, and we fell asleep on her bed or whatever at the same time, and I ended up spending the night there completely by accident. And I remember waking up and being freaked out. I was like, oh my gosh, like, you know, I'm gonna climb out the window or whatever. So I thought for sure her dad was gonna be like, no, you can't see her anymore, because I mean, at the time she was 17 and I was 19, but like, her dad never said a word about it to us. Like, I just calmly left and nothing was ever said about it. So along about this time, like, God sent me a dream, and basically in the dream I saw us being married and having kids, and I was told her I was going to build her a house and all this other stuff in my dream. And, you know, I was an idiot and told her, and she was like, I'm never marrying you. Like, so she specifically told me she was never marrying me. So I do remember, like, this significant event that happened when Hannah and I were dating. We were sitting in the living room watching a scary movie. I remember the movie, it was called Skeleton Key. And I remember watching it, and at the time, like, where we were sitting in the living room, like, you could see the kitchen from where, through the kitchen where I was to the back door, and there was a porch on the back door at the time. And I remember seeing, like, this shadow being, like, walk through the door and then, like, walk around the corner and walk up the stairs. And I could hear the footsteps going up the stairs. And I'm just, like, thinking my imagination's playing tricks on me. So I didn't really say anything about it. And then I heard the footsteps coming back down the stairs and saw this shadow thing walk back out and go down the hallway and out the back door again. And I was like, what the heck? So, again, I just thought, you know, it's my imagination playing tricks on me. I'm watching this scary movie. Until Hannah was like, hey, did you just see that? And I was like, oh, crap. Like, it was real. So, like, we got up and left because we didn't want to be in the house anymore. And I remember, like, a lot of that kind of stuff sporadically happening at that house. Like, there's this shadow being that Caleb and I both saw. We both called him Crazy Eyes. But he's always wearing, like, this cloak and this top hat and like a bowler hat or whatever, and his eyes were just the strangest, like, thing. So he appeared to both of us multiple times. And it was about that time or whatever that Ashley, the previous girlfriend or whatever that I was really into, started calling me again. And saying that she realized her mistake and she wanted me back. And I basically told her at the time, I'm like, look, I'm really happy with who I'm with. I'm no interest in breaking up with her. And, you know, she told me that she wanted me back, and, you know, so, yeah, it was just kind of a weird time, and I was just like, well, I don't want anything to do with you anymore. And she was like, well, I'll wait around for you and see if it works out. I told her not to, and I was like, yeah, you know. So, and another one of my ex-girlfriends started coming around at work or whatever, and I told her, like, hey, that's my girlfriend right there. And she was, you know, called her a Barbie doll or something like that and mocked her and then left. So, you know, I just, you know, I started working at the pizza place next door, started earning extra money or whatever. I kicked all my old roommates out. So, you know, it was the end of my partying days or whatever. So, I don't really have much time left on this, so I'm going to go ahead and end this video here. I was planning on going to the end, but I got to transfer these to my computer so I can make more room on my phone to record. So I'll be right back.